So here's a video and a question I never thought I'd have to ask or ever make. What is happening to the MAGA movement? Is it fractured? Is it fracturing? Is it lost? Is it turning into a cult? And maybe I shouldn't ask what's happening to MAGA as a whole, but what's happening with MAGA's influencers? Like, they're serious big name influencers. Why am I asking this? Well, because since the second term of Trump has started, there has been infighting like there is no tomorrow. What are you talking about, Matt? And I'm sure a lot of people already know, but I want to start off with someone like Dan Bongino. Dan Bongino used to bring Kyle Seraphin onto his show. Kyle Seraphin was an FBI whistleblower. He'd come on to Bongino's podcast several times, and Bongino championed him as basically the be-all, end-all of the American heart and soul and what we stood for as conservatives. We didn't like big government. And, you know, how many times he preached that no more pussyfooting around, FBI, and blah, blah, blah. I haven't listened to Bongino since he came back. I was rather disappointed. Anyways, you have two people that are staunch Trump supporters attacking each other. Why did Bongino and Seraphin split? Seraphin said something about Patel's girlfriend, about her being a Mossad agent or some stupid shit like that. And it caused infighting between the two of them. Now, Seraphin is one of Bongino's biggest critics over the FBI handling. And you know what? If you look into a lot of what he says, there's some truth behind it. I mean, you talk about people like Patel and Bongino, they made a lot of promises on their podcasts and all over the place of what they would do in places of power. And when they got there, they fell extremely short. They kind of dropped the ball on the Epstein thing, for starters. And then I feel like they kind of dropped the ball and fumbled the DC pipe bombing thing. But do I know all the facts to what happened in there? No, I'm not privy to confidential information, and I only have speculation of how I feel about it. Do I dislike Bongino? No, I don't. Do I dislike Kyle Seraphin? No, I listen to some of what he has to say. I haven't, like I said, listened to Bongino since he came back because I'm a little disappointed in him. He rawed all the way to becoming a deputy director of the FBI. 9 months later leaves. Now he was upset over the Epstein stuff and basically gave him an ultimatum. It was Bondi or him, and you know, he kind of stood on that principle. But even Sean Hannity called him out on his show, and Bongino looked like a deer in the headlights when responding that, you know, when he was a podcaster, he had an opinion, but in the FBI, he was based in facts. But we actually wanted to see some super change. Seraphin claims to have said that he told Bongino and Patel how they could institute that change, being that he used to be inside the FBI, knew how it worked, but it's a back and forth thing. And then when Bongino comes back, he basically makes this big interview thing in what I'm guessing was his own studio, being asked questions by a friendly face, where he says he's going to go after black pillars. Basically, he's going to go after the Kyle Seraphins because they're not MAGA. And this is going to become a very, very big trend in this video. How many of these influencers are basically looking at people that may be critical of them and their failed promises that they couldn't deliver on and say that you're not MAGA? Wait, what? I thought MAGA was an idea. Anyways, you have stupid things like Patel. I was just talking about him and his girlfriend and all the allegations of that. Now, do I know anything about Patel's girlfriend? No, I don't. And I don't care to. But Patel made a lot of big promises, too, about how he was going to clean things up. But he ends up looking more like a teenage Christopher Wray, abusing the jet after what? How many times did he rail against Christopher Wray, abusing the jet for personal use, and he turns around and does the same thing, but it's all okay? Going to the Olympics hockey game and having him a beer shower in the locker room. I mean, you kind of look like a partying frat kid with your customized Nike shoes. I mean, he really looks more like a joke than a serious FBI director. I hate to say that, but you know what? It is what it is. But this is somebody that claims to be ultra MAGA, and he was dead fast against stunts like this when the left was doing it, but it's okay when he does it. And yes, I'm going to be critical of people on the whole MAGA side because that's what this video is about. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm perfect MAGA. I am the definition of MAGA. No, I'm a conservative. And I actually have an opinion. I can disagree with things from both sides of the aisle. I go right down the middle. I have principles that I stand on. And if you cross those lines, I don't care what side you're on, I'm going to call you out for it. So, anyways, back to the whole what's happening to MAGA. Here's something I didn't agree with Donald Trump. Really pissed me off, to be honest. We actually had somebody that voted 98% of the time, like 98 or 99, has like a 98 or 98.5 or 99% scorecard of voting on issues with Donald Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene. And all because she wanted the Epstein files released, and Trump said there was nothing there, which he was referring to. There was nothing there that would implicate him in what Epstein was doing, that he didn't do any of that. He just kept saying there's nothing there, and if you support releasing them, you're not MAGA. And it's like, man, would you quit saying stupid shit like that? Well, anyways, Marjorie Taylor Greene went with the Democrats, and I have to agree with her that if you are a conservative and you feel that what Epstein done was wrong and anyone involved in it should be brought and held accountable for those things, it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. Right's right, wrong's wrong. Left, right, independent, doesn't matter to me. I was with Marjorie Taylor Greene on her stance with that it needed released and all that. Well, what did Trump do? He come out and called her Marjorie Traitor Greene. And subsequently, she ended up getting a lot of death threats from MAGA. That was wrong. It was 110% wrong. It was 150% wrong. Feel free to disagree. I really don't care. I think that those Epstein files needed released. All of them. Not some of them. Not redacted stuff. If you're going to release it all. The victims deserve to have justice for what happened to them. So I was with her on that. But she ended up resigning from Congress, and all because of the whole MAGA. And she was very honest in a few interviews she did on a few different platforms with a few different hosts about the uniparty, that she couldn't get nothing done. Well, I would have to agree there is a uniparty up there on Congress. Anyways, but who was she a traitor to? Was she a traitor to Trump, or was she a traitor to her country? Well, she wasn't a traitor to the country. She was doing what she said. She was standing up for the victims of Epstein. She was a traitor to what? Trump's idea that there was nothing there? That's kind of sad, actually. We lost a good person in Congress all because of the whole MAGA. And you're either not MAGA or you are MAGA. You either agree 100% and toe the line, or he'll primary you. That kind of pissed me off whenever I heard that. I won't lie, but I still support Donald Trump. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater on bad decisions. He should have come out and publicly apologized about that and made her feel back at home, and probably lowered the base's temperature against her. But hey, things happen. She left Congress. I don't know what her plans are later on, but I don't consider her to be a traitor. I think she was actually part of the America First agenda. Sorry. She always voted conservatively and Republican, other than wanting the Epstein files released, which I feel is a conservative, a Republican, or a Democrat. I think we could all have agreed on. Anyways, it's just who's in it that's an argument. Stupid. So then you turn around and you have major heads, people like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, attacking Tucker Carlson. It's like these three people were, all on the same side 8 years ago, and now, why are we attacking Tucker Carlson? He interviewed Nick Fuentes. He's described as anti-Semite, blah, 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 self-proclaims that he thought Hitler was a good guy. But I thought true journalism, you even listened and gave people a platform that you did not agree with. Now you have Nick Fuentes out there saying that he's going to vote Democrat and trying to get people to vote Democrat that's basically his followers. And it's like, man, you're a dumbass is what you are. But we're not going to get into the Nick Fuentes thing. I don't care either way. I've never really been a consumer of Nick Fuentes' content. I mean, I listen to him when he's on certain shows, and some things I can agree with, some things I can't. And that's how I am with a lot of people. But Tucker Carlson got attacked by Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and over this, and it was like, we're going to flush him out like a fox in a hen house. That's kind of a threat, don't you think? How do you flush a fox out of a hen house? I'll let that one simmer a minute. It's, he's not MAGA, blah, blah, blah. Well, I thought he was doing what true journalists do. Even if you don't agree with them, how are you going to know what their ideas are unless you put those ideas out there? So I really disagreed with those two. Not that I've ever really agreed 100% with either one of them either. It is what it is. Then you have Here recently, you have Ted Cruz coming out and attacking Tucker Carlson. He is going to personally take him head on. Well, wait a minute. Why are we suddenly so against Tucker Carlson? He's doing what he's always done. Well, recently started doing, I don't know, decade, 15, 20 years ago, I don't know, when he went from neocon war supporter to let's not have wars, and he's just doing journalism, something he's been doing since he was in his 20s, just getting other people's side of the conversation. Now we're going to attack him, and he's called a crackpot, and Cruz is basically saying that he's not a part of the base, and he's going to personally take him on, and it's like, wow, what a fracture that is. Considering Ted Cruz hasn't always been on board with everything either. Then you have the newest one, Mark Levin versus Megyn Kelly, and these things are stupid that people are actually out here debating them, where they go back and forth, and then Megyn Kelly, because of Mark Levin's comments, blah, 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 you get the whole, he's got a little dick syndrome. Well, be that as it may, if it's true, don't care if it's true. I don't want to waste much time on it, but you're talking about Mark Levin has made heated rhetoric towards a lot of people. It's all because he's MAGA. And guess who jumps out there to defend him against Megyn Kelly? Donald Trump, declaring that Mark Levin is ultra MAGA. He's a Likud. He's an Israel first, conservative, whatever, Republican. I listened long ago, listened to a few of Mark Levin's podcasts and stuff. And 4 hours worth of that, listening to that man talk, I said, I can agree with a lot of what he says. I can agree with some of what he says. And then there was times where I was like, wow, this guy is just an ass. Oh, he's dubbed the Great One. Great. Cool. Yeah. Bongino and him used to talk. Maybe they still do. They used to go back and forth on each other's platforms. Whatever. Now, Ben Shapiro, on the other hand, can't handle him. I mean, he makes good points every now and again, but I'm not an Israel first. I'd have nothing against Israel. I think we should help them out when we need to, but I don't think we should be, in constant battles for Benjamin Netanyahu. Call me anti-Semite, call me whatever. We need to take care of America. Yes, I do realize that some foreign policy is national policy. It actually helps us here in the U.S. I'm not ignorant to that fact. Anyways, Trump declares that Mark Levin is real MAGA. Mark Levin declares himself real MAGA. Okay, wow. But then you have the SAVE Act, and you have, and people are now acting like this is a surprise. You have people like Alaskan Senator Murkowski, who like 70% of the time votes against Republican and conservative ideals and votes with the liberals, and everyone's losing their mind over that. And it's like, how are you surprised about this? Go look at her voting record. She's fucking trash. She's a rhino. She should just switch parties to Democrat. Seriously. And she voted against the SAVE Act. And, I don't see where either side. Yes, I know everyone's going to jump on here and say, Democrats only want to cheat. That's why they don't like the SAVE Act. I understand that, but I'm going to ask you, why would you be against it if you were on either side? That way, no one on either side could say, you cheated, they cheated, they're not legit. It would end a whole lot of that if you actually used voter ID, non-citizens not voting. It would save a lot of bullshit, and I'm all for it. But, I did expect people like Murkowski to go liberal on their vote against procedural moving it forward in the Senate. Why is everybody surprised? Wow, this stuff kind of blows my mind when I sit and think about it. But then you have Joe Kent resigning over the Iran war, the director of national counterterrorism. And he says Iran wasn't a threat. Well, I've already made my stance on the whole Iran war. I don't like wars, but I also don't like people that chant death to America and want to hurt our allies and spread terrorism around the world to enrich uranium, have ICBMs, nukes. They don't need it. I don't like regime change. It doesn't usually lead anywhere good. And wars like that I don't want an endless war. If you're going to do it, and this is how I feel, I still feel this way, and the war's been going on for what, 2-3 weeks now? If we can decimate them, as Trump says, overnight, then do it. Decimate them and get the fuck out. The end. I don't want endless wars. I don't like regime change, but like I said, I don't want Iran, an extremist terrorist bed, to have nukes, ICBMs, anything of the sort. They don't need it. They would only spread more death and chaos. And if you don't believe that, in my video, I said, I wonder what the retaliation from Iran would be. And guess what? Synagogues was attacked and mass shootings and people screaming a la candy bar. called that. We all kind of seen that writing on the wall. But I'm going to ask again about all these MAGA influencers. What is happening to MAGA? Thought MAGA was an idea, not a cult. Why is it if you disagree with anything that Trump does, you have these people on our side saying, you're not this? It's like you either agree and toe the line 100% or you are toast. I don't agree with that. That's why I'm asking what happened. Why are we infighting and eating ourselves? Like I said, I don't agree with what Trump did with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't agree with the Bongino Seraphin argument. I'm not taking a side on either one of those because I don't know Patel's girlfriend and I really don't give a shit. Okay? I'm not on. I'll tell you, I'll take Tucker Carlson's side against Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro because he was doing, in my opinion, regular journalism. He was interviewing people. Like I said, how are you ever going to know someone's true stance unless you give them a platform to talk? And Ted Cruz said something extremely startling, and it makes me wonder, in parliamentary procedure and stuff like that, this is a man that sits in our Senate, basically making fun of Tucker Carlson, letting Nick Fuentes talk all he wants to, and he says that he was just sitting there going, Well, yeah, what do you think he's supposed to do? Interrupt like a 5-year-old? Is that what he's supposed to do? No, you let them speak so people can make their own informed decisions about where they stand with certain people, certain ideas. I don't understand the whole let's shut everybody down or cancel. The people like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz are now starting to sound like the left. The cancel culture, when they were steadfast against the cancel culture, I'm really starting to feel, I don't know if MAGA is fracturing or if it's losing its way. I don't understand why people are sitting there saying that I'm the ultimate MAGA. I'm MAGA. And if you say anything against Donald Trump, you're not MAGA, you're not part of the base, you're a black pillar, blah, blah, blah. And then you have this whole Joe Kent thing resigning, which sent the Q-tards into a massive frenzy of basically, don't get me started on Q. I'm going to make a video about the Q-tards. That shit is so stupid. It's childlike theater, and I don't agree with it at all, but I will get to them one of these days. I'll probably get a lot of hate for that too, because I mean, how much more proof of the bullshit do you need before you sit there and say, wow, I'm drinking Kool-Aid? Anyways, I'm just asking, what is happening to the MAGA idea? I feel like it's turning, some of these people are like pledging their allegiance to a person that's going to be gone in a couple of years, not the country as a whole, or the idea of America first or making America great again. They're pledging their allegiance to one single person, and I refuse to do that. I still think America first, American values first, and let's make America great again. Let's bring the values back that made America great. And a lot of people in Royal Society are feeling left behind because of Donald Trump's decisions. But nobody's willing to say it, and if they do say it, they're threatening to cancel them, silence them, deplatform them, whatever, or they're ostracized as not MAGA. Well, you can be MAGA and disagree with a few points of the MAGA administration. You don't have to swear allegiance to one person to be MAGA. You swear allegiance to the country and American value. And some people probably won't like my stance on the Iran war, and I really don't care because I said what I said and I stand behind it. I have my principles. So there it is. I'm asking the question, what does everybody think is happening? Is it fractured? Is it in the middle of a fracture? Or is it yesterday's news? Either way, if we don't stop the infighting, in my opinion, and we don't stop the attacks on each other and come back together as a collective, we're going to lose the midterms. And then we're going to turn right around and lose the next election in 2028. And it's going to hurt badly because the Democrats have already threatened major retaliation against anyone declared Republican or MAGA. We're either all going to hang together or hang separate. And right now, seems to me like MAGA's busy hanging each other, and it needs to stop. If you like my content, I will leave a link in the description where you can support my channel, or you can slide over to W and choose from one of their 15 flavors with over 20,000 5-star reviews. Put in Matt's opinion as a coupon code and save yourself 10%. And they'll support me for you supporting them. If you've watched my video this far, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. For Matt's opinion, I'm out.